I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to our weekly edition of Australian Immigration News. This week we had 4 191 visas granted, one of which we only lodged last month. The others took between 2 and 6 months to process. Unfortunately, we also have clients who applied last year and are still waiting, and it's incredibly frustrating to inform them that their visas haven't been granted as yet. Based upon numerous comments we receive on the channel, our experience with the perceived unfairness in processing arrangements is not unique. The situation often arises when the department makes a significant push to expedite processing for a specific visa subclass. The aim seems to be to showcase that they are actively speeding up visa processing by handling recent, straightforward applications quickly before returning to the older ones. This approach also improves their median processing times. To those still waiting, I understand how unfair this feels. However, the positive news is that overall processing is improving, which is a promising sign. Hang in there, and it will happen for you. There's no denying the significant shortage of skilled workers in Australia, a topic that's been splashed across the media stories like this week's one in the Financial Review. The article amusingly highlighted the lengths recruiters are going to, including the South Australian Police Force, to try and source skilled police officers from the UK.
We're recruiting internationally and I'm inviting you to apply. We've got a lot of competitive advantages, including a great salary, and we'll pay for the cost of permanent visas for you and your family. Not to mention, we've got this.
Switching gears to a more sombre note, the ABC network spotlighted a crisis in childcare education. At the centre is Southern Cross University's Graduate Diploma of Early Childhood Teaching, scrutinised for all the wrong reasons. We'll leave a link to this story in the description so you can watch it yourselves.
Every morning, more than 1 million families drop their kids off at childcare, trusting the system will keep them safe. Most have no idea what's really going on. Faced with booming demand, some private operators and universities have turned accelerated childcare courses into a money spinner, sacrificing quality. One institution pushing it hard is Southern Cross University. 730 understands an estimated 6,000 students have been enrolled in its 10-month graduate diploma in the past 2 years. At $25,000 each, that's around $150 million in fees. The majority are international students, some men in their 40s and 50s, with backgrounds in fields like IT, engineering and finance, not early childhood or teaching. In the past year, the National Higher Education Regulator, TEQSA, has received a series of complaints from staff and students about Southern Cross University's early education courses. TEQSA has launched a probe. It said live compliance processes were initiated earlier this year.
It's enough to cause former and current students concern about whether the course they will finish or have finished will have any value in the future. Criticisms argue that the diploma isn't sufficient to qualify for early childhood teachers. Yet a Commonwealth Government report recently advocated for graduate diplomas to address teacher shortages. Unfortunately, it seems these graduate diplomas are drawing criticism from everywhere. This story in The Age this week highlighted that Curtin University's graduate diploma in teaching was under fire from the Western Australia's Teaching Union. It is indeed difficult to convince the old guard that a quicker approach is the only way we are going to solve the teacher shortages. Curtin University is proud of introducing their Graduate Diploma of Education with its website news page boasting of the 340 students who will be graduating this year and hopefully finding jobs in Western Australia. The head of Curtin School of Education, Professor Jeff Brooks, said Curtin had taken the lead in addressing the critical need for more primary and secondary teachers in Western Australia. The teacher shortage is having a major impact on Western Australian schools and families. Years ago, graduate diplomas in education were paired with bachelor degrees was the standard pathway into teaching, equivalent to the 4 years of academic study just like the Bachelor of Education. However, the shift to requiring a master's degree for those who didn't complete a Bachelor of Education has worsened teacher shortages. Not everyone is eager to spend 2 years pursuing a master's degree when other high-paying careers are available. Despite the government's endorsement of a graduate diploma as a solution, many universities remain hesitant to develop and offer them. Unsurprisingly, programs at Southern Cross University, Curtin University and others have gained popularity. The course at Southern Cross University is one of the most affordable and offers an online program as well, and this has likely contributed to its rapid enrolment growth. It's important to critically analyse, however, the claims made in the ABC's program to assess whether the controversy is justified, like in this segment.
The students are completely ill-equipped. To describe graduate diploma graduates from this course as qualified professionals is, quite frankly, insulting.
And who is this anonymous source being featured, with the reporter seemingly sofa-driven in the back of a car like some kind of spy movie? We're not even told the occupation and the person who's criticising the university. And what about this statement as well?
Southern Cross University is based in regional New South Wales and has campuses around the country. In 2023, it bought out a private education partner and ramped up its international student intake. Fast-track courses like childcare were put on steroids, aggressively marketed through education and immigration agents.
I hate to break it to them, but international students have long been attracted to high-demand occupations that offer clear pathways to permanent residency. This has been happening now for over 20 years. In fact, the old Migration Occupation in Demand list, known as the MODL, provided extra points towards getting a skilled visa. This list included professions like accountants, IT specialists and engineers. It even prompted the development of specific courses here in Australia to meet these demand areas, shaping the current academic landscape it is today. So there's nothing new about international students choosing courses that improve their chances of obtaining permanent residency. All universities have benefited financially from this in reality, so why single out Southern Cross University as being any different? Of course, when a story is lacking in facts, it's tempting to resort to old stereotypes and gender innuendos. Unfortunately, that seems to be what's happened here.
The majority are international students, some men in their 40s and 50s, with backgrounds in fields like IT, engineering and finance.
Then there is the attack on the integrity of every single student who has studied this course.
Have said they don't need to engage in any learning and only here to get their visa.
He didn't understand the policies, he didn't do his observations, and I found him in the centre playing computer games instead of doing his work.
I mean, really? Students just mucking around and doing anything but learning? That's the smoking gun? Certainly nothing new. Some students genuinely don't care much about their studies. And remember, those caught acting inappropriately or failing to engage properly in their placements simply don't pass and therefore don't qualify. It's a shame the ABC didn't mention that part. The fact is, this course is an accredited AQF qualification and there is no evidence to suggest that the teaching quality is substandard. If universities don't develop innovative solutions like this diploma, solving the teaching crisis will remain a distant goal. Ultimately, for teacher registration and migration purposes, the graduate diploma in education remains a valid qualification. Of course, the government has every right to audit how courses are run, and so they should. Has the success of this course affected its quality? Well, we'll see in future evaluations when they're revealed, but currently there's no credible evidence to suggest otherwise. For transparency, we have absolutely no association with Southern Cross University, and we are not education agents. Yes, we've recommended the course to many, and many have gone on to gain their permanent residency and secure great teaching jobs. Courses like this can be very useful for residency outcomes, but we are always advised to people that be prepared for getting work, as in the future, getting work as an ECT may be a requirement. In last week's edition, I made a mistake. My first on YouTube after 5 years of weekly videos. I stated that if you go offshore to lodge a student visa while holding a 485 visa, you could apply for a bridging visa E. In fact, I forgot to mention that you can also apply and obtain a bridging visa A. The bridging visa A should have the same full-time work conditions. However, the key issue remains the same. You will not have a right of review, which is a critical factor when deciding whether to pursue this approach given the costs involved. Now, to be able to gain these bridging visas, it comes from the online applications, where in fact they are considered applications made within Australia, even though they are lodged technically when the applicant is offshore. This is why bridging visas can be issued after you enter the country. If you hold a substantive visa when you apply online from abroad, a BVA should be possible. If you lodge an application while offshore and you don't have an Australian visa at that time, then if you come to Australia later, let's say on a tourist visa, obtaining a bridging visa E should be then possible. This situation often arises when someone has lodged a 190 or 189 application but is still waiting, and then arrives in Australia on a tourist visa. In such cases, a BVE can be issued because the application was lodged in Australia and there is an outstanding visa decision that could be granted while the applicant is in Australia. For review applications to the Administrative Review Tribunal, the ART, that are not sponsored, such as a student visa application, the applicant must have been physically present in Australia at the time of lodging the application to have review rights. That's all for tonight's edition, and thanks for staying till the end. As always, we are here to help. You can book a consultation online by just visiting our website, but if you're in a hurry, just pick up the phone. As always, take care out there, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.